Welcome to Big Pick 4 show, where the NFL pick experts, Big Danny D and Brian B, give you the best 4 picks for Sunday NFL games, to include the guaranteed Big Danny D pick and guaranteed Big Brian B pick. As always, we start our show with a recap of the previous week NFL, which just so happens was Wild Card Week, where the Gurus went 1-3. What do you have to say for yourselves?
I suck.
I thought Green Bay was going to win because they're at home.
You know,
Aaron Rodgers.
They almost covered. You know, if they had a chance. I think they lost by half a point on that one. And
I just thought Green Bay at home and
the
those
Bengals.
cold weather. Yeah, the Bengals laid an egg. I'm sorry. They just fucking flat out laid an egg. I came close on my pick.
Yeah, yes, you did. The Bengals laid an egg. We got lucky on the Indy one. There was a pick 'em. Andy Reid screwed up, which was fun to watch. Nobody covered it. I guess the Saints covered the Eagles. They won by, what was it, 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Eagles wouldn't have covered even if they won. You know, it happens. The playoffs. I mean, look at that ridiculous comeback in the Chiefs-Colts game. What was it, 38-10? And the Colts came back.
Well, the only game that I didn't see happening was the domination by the Chargers.
Yeah.
Bengals.
Hey, you know the streak, though.
They didn't play.
You know the streak, right?
Eagles streak, yeah.
The streak, the team that's played the Eagles in the home opener the last 4 years has all gone on to win the Super Bowl. So this year was the Chargers, so...
I don't think it'll beat the Broncos, though.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Philip Rivers is 3-0 against the Broncos against Peyton in the playoffs. So we'll have to see.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's a good stat.
I just want to say that I told Big Danny D, that he could have still picked the Eagles, but said that they wouldn't cover the spread, and then saved face at the office, at the law office, and said, "Well, I didn't pick against them. I just said they wouldn't cover the spread." And I said, "That's such a homer pick. You're gonna lose. If you had listened to me, at least you would have pulled off 2 out of 4."
Hey, remember
I just said that was a homer pick because you guys don't want to get beat up at the office by picking against the Eagles in the playoffs.
No, I don't care. I get beat up all the time, dude. Steve Hinkle used to kill me.
Yeah, well, Dan didn't want to get killed. That's why he went with the homer pick.
I just think I had to make the homer pick. I mean, I think it was my duty to make the homer pick, right? Rather
No,
right or wrong.
You could have said, "Hey, the Eagles they're gonna win by 1. They're gonna win by a safety."
I know, but I thought they had a chance to win by a
Even though
field
you
goal.
knew they were gonna lose.
Yeah, I know, but a field goal, you can win by a field goal. It doesn't seem that difficult, but apparently it was for everybody except for the Chargers.
The divisional playoff Vag of the week, leading up to the Vaggie Award for the Vag of the Year, Danny D.
This week's winner is Andy Reid. His team blew a 38-10 lead in a playoff game and lost. It was the second worst come from ahead, I guess, for lack of a better term, defeat in the history of the playoffs. Second to the Buffalo Bills, who were down by 32 points early in the third quarter to the Houston Oilers in the Frank Reich game, which everyone might remember, in which the Bills made a furious comeback, came back, won the game. Eventually, I think they went to their first or second straight Super Bowl, I forget, in that series of 4 straight losses. But anyway, that defeat was the worst since then. That the team was so far ahead as to lose. They were up by 28 and they lost. That's awful. Their game plan in the second half was terrible. Reid obviously didn't have the sight to see that their defense was getting ripped, play after play, deep down the field, large chunks of yardage. The defensive coordinator should be fired for this. He didn't run the ball. They threw 23 times and ran the ball 11 in the second half of that game instead of trying to run some clock off. Even if they just run one series and only get like 2 or 3 first downs, that's 5 or 6 minutes that's off the clock that Indianapolis can't get back, that they needed to come back in that game. He really screwed that up big time. And that's why he's lost like the last 4 playoff games, I think, that he's coached in. 3 with the Eagles and 1 with Kansas City now. So he's 10-10 in the playoffs, which really isn't good at all. I mean, just a pathetic attempt at coaching. Andy Reid wins this week.
Didn't you say the last playoff he won was 2008?
Yes. Then they lost in 2009. They lost in 2010. And then they lost again, I guess, yesterday. So he's lost 3 straight.
What amazed me is watching the game, even with the big lead.
Oh, he's 3.
I was still very interested in the game. I always felt like things could change.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was one of the greatest playoff games ever. I mean, that was fantastic. Yeah. But that's bad coaching. You can't do that. When you have that big of a lead, you got to win. How can you not win? You know, it's almost impossible. I think, based on mathematical outcomes that were done, I think in the early third quarter, Indianapolis had a 3% chance of winning, and yet they did. T.Y. Hilton kept running the same patterns down the field, and he was always open for these long touchdowns. What's his name? That guy, Derrick Rogers, I think his name. He spells his name funny. I think it's D-A, Rick, which is weird, but anyway. He was open down the field for another big play, and Fleener was open. I mean, it was ridiculous. I don't understand what kind of defense they were playing. I don't understand what was going on at all. It doesn't make any sense.
Did Andrew Luck get a break, though? Was there a non-offensive touchdown that on the Colts side?
I don't think so. Was there a fumble return? I don't remember. I don't think so.
No. The big play was when Andrew Luck recovered the fumble and jumped it in for the score.
That's right? Yeah, Donald Brown fumbled, but the ball ran right to Luck, and he just ran it in. He was lucky. Well, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes, they say. But that was typical Andy Reid. I mean, he coached himself into a loss. I don't understand that. I mean, if you're going to play a zone defense, play a deep cover too, where your safeties are playing deeper than the deepest, so they can't throw deep on you. Make them dink and dunk. Make them waste a lot of time to get to score. Otherwise, they scored like that, which is what happened. You know, their pass rush became non-existent. It was really ridiculous to watch, and not to run the ball. As I said, even if you don't run it well, even if you only get a couple first downs, you're still running 2 minutes of clock off for every 4 plays that you're running. So if you knock off 4 minutes, 5 minutes off the clock, you know, you've done something. You've hurt.
Well, and forget about the defensive coordinator by himself. I've seen this over and over in the NFL, where you get a lead and then suddenly you change your scheme or your game plan that got you the lead.
Exactly.
We got a lead. We got to totally change up and we got to go conservative. And that's what kills you.
Yeah.
Look at the Redskins. Man, they get a lead and all of a sudden everything changes. We got to protect the lead now. And then they get beat.
No, you can't change your scheme. You can't go to I think you can only go to a prevent if it's if you're up by a lot and it's late in the fourth quarter and you want the team just to try to force them to go a long field. You know, but otherwise you can't do it in the third quarter because look what happened. It helped, especially the way they did it. They didn't even do it right. That's the problem. Their safeties didn't play.
They came out after halftime with we got a big lead. Now we got to totally change up our scheme.
Playing a Tampa 2 defense. They covered 2, and it didn't work. They weren't doing the proper things they had to do. The safeties were playing out of position. They spread the field. This one corner, Jenkins, I think his name was, kept getting beaten on these crossing routes because they tried to play man coverage, and a man beater is crossing routes. And they had lots of problems covering the crossing routes. They never covered that up, and because of that, these guys were running free all the time. And it was just they didn't do anything. They should have dropped the linebackers back, or had put linebackers on the inside receivers to bump them at the line to break up the timing on these crossing routes. Because on the crossing route, the tight end a lot of times comes in as a pick on one of the other DBs, and lets the guy run open. But you prevent that by having the linebacker come out and bump the guy, and they didn't do that. It is simple things that you have to force them to run the ball. You have to force them to throw short to make them they can get the ball down the field, but you want them to take a lot of time to do it, and they totally missed that. So it was really just poor coaching. I don't know what else to call it. Alex Smith, it was okay. But Andy Reid's coaching decisions killed him. That's what happened. He used up all his timeouts when he shouldn't have. They called timeout, I think, 40 seconds into the third quarter. It's just like, I don't really get it at all. For a guy who's been around as long as he has, who's been as successful as he has, to make the playoffs 10 times in that league is, that's an accomplishment. But
what was the biggest differential in the game with the Chiefs' lead? It was like 20-something?
28. It was 38-10. And it was 31-10 at halftime. And then the Chiefs got the ball back and scored again. It was 38-10 with maybe 12 minutes left in the third quarter, and they lost. They were outscored. So
that was 28 points.
They're outscored.
They pissed away in the second half.
Yeah, they're outscored like 34-7, I think, after that. That's rough. I mean, that's just bad. They're going to learn out there. They're going to learn some of Andy Reid's deficiencies. I think some of it was a mirage this year, and they're going to see. And eventually he's going to get fired from there. But, I think the good feeling...
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I think the good feelings and the kumbaya and all that other crap is going to be over very quickly out there.
Yeah, well, the Redskins picked up Gruden as their head coach.
Yeah, that was that. No, they wouldn't even let him pick his assistants.
The only problem was the wrong one.
Yeah, right. But they won't let him pick his own coaching staff. They're forcing this coaching staff down his throat. He has to keep Jim Haslett as defensive coordinator, which I'm not sure that's a great idea. His defense was terrible last year. And they're promoting the tight ends coach to offensive coordinator. He has no say in his staff. I don't know what head coach is going to do that. I don't get it. Was he that desperate for a job? It was ridiculous.
What? But wait, wasn't Jim Haslett had wasn't Hainsworth his brainchild to bring in Hainsworth?
No, that was all the owner. That was the owner's fault. He's an idiot.
No, but that's classic Dan Snyder. Yeah. It says I'm going to bring in a new coach, and then it's the Six Flags head coach that really is behind the scenes screwing everything up.
But I mean, I just don't understand why the guy can't bring in his own staff. That's one of the basic things they do. They get rid of everybody, and then the guy brings in the people he wants. He doesn't, have to make him keep them. I just think that's part of the whole dysfunction of that franchise, is that you would allow that to happen. That you hire a coach, but then you don't allow him to do what he wants to do. You can't do that. That's why bad teams are bad.
That's why Jim Gruden's son took the job, because
who's Jim
what
Gruden?
I get to lose? I might as well roll the dice, right?
Yeah, who's Jim Gruden?
Wait, who's the Super Bowl winning head coach?
John Gruden.
John Gruden. That's what I said.
This is his brother.
No, it's his. Oh, it's his brother. I thought it was his son.
No, they're like John Gruden's 50 and this guy's like 43, 44. It'd be tough to be his son. He went through puberty pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, you laugh at me, but look at who's Shanahan's offensive coordinator. It's his son, right? I thought
That's
it was
absolutely right.
I didn't realize it was a brother's. Hey, I would rather bring in Rex Ryan's brother and give him a shot than this Gruden guy.
Yeah. Rob Ryan did a great job.
Yeah, why would you bring Rob Ryan in and give him a shot?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a better track record than this Gruden guy.
I understand, but my problem is, it's not even that. Is that they won't let him pick his own staff. And that's why Washington's always dysfunctional. You can't do that. Jerry Jones does the same shit to Jason Garrett in Dallas. He hired all the assistant coaches. He won't let him have his own staff. That's why bad teams are bad. You have these meddling
But Vinny Testaverde, not Vinny am I right, Vinny Testaverde, or am I saying...
What? Vinny Testaverde what?
The Redskins owner.
No. The new one? Vinny Testaverde was a quarterback.
No, the Redskins owner.
Daniel Snyder?
Oh, well, he fired Vinny Testaverde. Vinny Testaverde used to be his number 2 guy, but he fired him. But anyway, Dan Snyder...
He worked for the Redskins?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he was Dan Snyder's number 2 guy, and he got fired.
That's Vinny Serrato.
Yeah, Vinny Serrato. That's what I meant.
I know what you're talking about. Oh my God, Vinny Testaverde. What, you lumping all Italians named Vinny together?
Vinny's Pizzeria.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, but my point is that Dan Snyder backed himself into a hole because he's been accused of being heavy-handed, which he is, and he's backed himself into a hole. He's got to keep the Redskins name, and against the protests of all the Native Americans, and he's got to prove that, hey, if I'm in charge, we can still win, and he's backed himself into a corner.
He's an idiot.
He's a cornered rat trying to eat himself out.
What he needs to do is he needs to back off and let the football people run the football team. Hire football people. That's what you got to do. The owner just has to pay the bills and stay out of it. I mean, certain decisions they're involved in, I get that. Certain free agents and maybe draft pick or something, but you need to let the football people do their jobs. And part of it is allowing the head coach of the team to form his own staff. That just takes it stabs him in the back from the get-go, because the coordinator is like, you didn't hire me, why the hell should I listen to you? You know, they're not going to respect the guy instead of having the guys that he wants there. How do you know what kind of systems they're going to run that he wants to run? I mean, it just seems like the whole thing is already like the guy is being hamstrung. It really doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, look what happened in Tampa. Lovie Smith comes in. I mean, they have a different problem there, but Lovie Smith comes in and he's able to hire his people for his staff. Now, their problem there is that they're giving him too much personnel power, and they'll never be able to find a reasonable GM because they're going to hamstring that guy. But
Dan, this could work out in favor of the show, because we could maybe change the format to a big pick one, and then every week we pick against the Redskins. We could probably do like an 80-90% a year just on that formula alone.
That's right.
Hey, what would we have done if instead of picking our big pick four picks every week that we do, what would we have done this year if every game we had just picked against the Redskins? We'd probably be better off than we are now, would we not?
I think they lost the last 8 in a row to end the season. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they covered the spread in any of those games or what happened, but they lost all of them.
I think a lot of those games were sucker bets. I think the spreads were surprisingly in the Redskins' favor. You know, even if they were an underdog, it wasn't by a huge margin.
Yeah. Well, they still have problems. I mean, supposedly Griffin goes and cries to the owner whenever something doesn't go his way, and the owner goes, okay, I'll take care of it. It just, that's why they're not going to win, because they have too many stupid things like that going on. You don't hear about that going on with the Giants. You don't hear about that going on with the Steelers or the Packers or the Patriots or Indianapolis or all these teams that win consistently. You don't have this bullshit.
So next season, the show consists of every week we pick against the Redskins, the Raiders, Jacksonville, and we need a fourth team to pick against.
Tampa.
It's the same 4 picks every. That's going to be the funny thing, and we'll still make money. We're going to pick against the Raiders, Jacksonville, the Redskins, and we need another team.
Cleveland.
Perfect. So there you have it, folks. This will be the format for next season. Every show, we will explain the reasoning as to why we're picking against Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Raiders, and the Redskins. And you'll be rich at the end of the season. I mean, will they not?
Yeah, it's true. Cleveland is dysfunctional, too. That's why they always lose. They fired a coach after one season. He didn't even get a chance. It's like I explained last week.
So every week we get a surprise. Well, 1 out of the 3 managed to beat the spread or what have you. We're still going to be 3 out of 4 every week. Every week. Game in and game out, we'll be 3 out of 4 with those 4 picks.
Yeah.
It's genius.
That's right. Yeah. We should have picked against Detroit too the second half of the season when they decided to take a swan dive.
No. That's hindsight 2020 though.
Yeah.
You may not that.
Yeah.
Early on. So we're now going to have our combined pick Divisional playoff week. First combined pick from Danny D.
All right. The first combined pick for the divisional playoff week is San Francisco versus Carolina. This game's a pick'em. We're going to take San Francisco. Jim Harbaugh is 5-0 on 1 o'clock kickoffs. I know that the 49ers have lost their last 4 divisional playoff rounds, I think it is, but they lost once already to the Panthers in regular season. But I think the 49ers are playing better. Their defense is playing better. They have more guys back on offense than they had that game. They have Crabtree back. I'm not sure. Vernon Davis was really just by himself in that game. They're running the ball better. I think that game that game last week helped Kaepernick a little bit get settled down. He might be one of those guys who just plays better in the playoffs. I mean, it happens sometimes. You get guys who are different between the playoffs and the regular season. But we feel that San Francisco will be able to win this game. I don't know what the margin's going to be. I expect it to be a close game. It should be competitive along with the way the other playoff games have played out so far. This is Ron Rivera's first playoff game. This is Cam Newton's first playoff game. And most of the players in the Panthers really is their first playoff game. They have made the playoffs in 6 years. So most of the guys have not been there. Steve Smith is still there from their glory days when they had Jake Delhomme when they went to the Super Bowl. But no one else has been here. Now, I'm not sure that's always a factor. I'm not really sure if that really matters that much. I think if you're a good team, you just play well. And if you don't, you don't. But they've played kind of shaky the last few weeks. The game's been very close. They almost lost to Atlanta. I think Carolina has a problematic offense. They're not very good. They're not very consistent. They don't score a lot of points necessarily. They need some more explosive players, really. I think they need another receiver and another tight end to make that offense a lot more dynamic for next season. But anyway, I think because of Michael Crabtree, Vernon Davis, and the rest of these guys that the 49ers have, I believe that they're going to pull this one out.
So there you have your first combined pick for divisional playoffs. We're going with Kaepernick. Well, this is the what's the spread on this game?
To pick 'em, but some bookies have it at -1 for San Francisco.
Yeah. How'd you do on your pick'em last week with the pick'em was the Colts, wasn't it?
Yeah, we won.
Yeah, and you won.
Yeah.
And God, some of those sports books were shaving lines on the Colts side, and I mean those guys got to be crying tears, that were like 1 point -1 for the Colts, but the premier books were making it a pick'em.
Yeah, and I think they got killed a lot too in some of the over-unders last week too that they didn't hit.
But that just seems like no fun, It's like pick the over. You're not, Come on, we want to know. And I really get disgruntled with sports talk or sports shows where they say, or like Fox NFL Sunday, where they say, "Oh, I'm picking this." It's like you're not doing anything picking a team to win. That means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, they don't pick against the spread, but they're not.
Yeah, if you're not picking against it, like we know from blood, sweat, and tears. If you're just picking wins and losses, first of all, you're never going to make any money based on the spreads. But if you pick against the spreads, it's really hard. It's really hard. Because like what we're doing this week, you got to say, hey, these teams aren't going to win, but the favorite teams aren't going to cover. But that doesn't play well in like the sports talk or the NFL Sunday talking heads. They're like, oh, so and so's going to win, so and so's going to win. But in reality, that's bullshit. It means nothing.
Yeah, well, they can't really go out on a limb and talk about spreads. It's not really their job. They just pick the game. It's more of a fun thing for them. It's not really what bettors should go off of.
Yeah, but we're supposed to watch that as NFL fans and be like, oh, I wonder if Terry is going to have more picks than, who's the other guys on that show?
Howie Long, Jimmy Johnson.
Howie, yeah. Is Terry going to beat Howie? Who gives a shit?
What's the name? Michael Strahan and Kurt Menefee.
And Jimmy's the old Dallas coach, right?
Yeah, he won the 2 Super Bowls.
2 Super Bowls, damn.
Yeah.
So now we will have our second combined pick from Big Brian B. Let's have it.
For the second one, come on, pick. We're gonna go with San Diego +10 at Denver. Dan brought up the 3-0 thing. I didn't know about that. I just think my reasoning is just that San Diego's been hot. They're playing really well. They beat a good Cincinnati team with a good defense. Phillip Rivers plays well against. I mean, it's the third time they played. They beat them at home before. I think Denver's going to win, but I just don't think they're going to cover 10.
Spread's
I think
too
it's
high.
going to be close. It's that point where when you play somebody 3 times, you know them really well. You know Peyton Manning's tendencies. I don't see them covering 10. And San Diego's just been playing really well.
And look at the pattern of these playoff games so far. They've been very close, except for that San Diego game. I mean,
Yeah.
that spread is really high.
Yeah, so I see Denver winning by like 4 or 5 points, 24-20, somewhere in that, maybe 27-24.
Yeah, that's a really spread. So I think that's a good call on that.
Yeah.
So as ladies and gentlemen, we'll now have a word from our sponsor.
Missä perkele sen Seppo viipyy? Ottaa! Ja kosi!
Broadway perkele since 1819.
Danny, what is your guarantee for divisional playoff week NFL?
All right, this week I'm guaranteeing the New Orleans versus Seattle game being played tomorrow afternoon. Weather's going to be a factor. It's going to be windy and cold and rainy as it usually is in Seattle. Unlike the games New Orleans played here last week, which had calm winds, no precipitation, so it was relatively good conditions to play in. It was a little cold.
But wait, you said you're guaranteeing the game. Who are you guaranteeing to
I'm
win?
guaranteeing Seattle. I like them. I like them in this game. I know the spread is -8 for them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It was the first time. I'd be surprised at that. But I believe Seattle is going to beat them. I think the weather will be a factor on Drew Brees this time, unlike last week. As I said, it was calm conditions, so it's easier. It was a little cold, but you could throw the football and you could do whatever you wanted, and it wasn't terrible. And it was on grass field. This is going to be outside on turf. It's going to be hard. It's going to be cold. And it's going to be rainy and windy. I think it's going to have much more of an effect on the Saints. Also, I don't think the Saints will have the same ease of running the football they did last week against the Eagles. I think Seattle will be able to shut them down, and I think they'll run the ball more effectively against the Saints than the Eagles did, which will be a big factor in this game considering the weather conditions. I know the Saints have revenge on their mind. I know they would like to go back up there and do this and do that and whatever, but I think Seattle's just a better team than them. And I think they can win this game by more than 8. They get Percy Harvin back this week, which is going to be a big thing for them. He has an extra explosive play in the passing game element that they really haven't had this season, and they still went 13-3. Their defense is ferocious. I think they'll get a better pass rush than what the Eagles did and put more pressure on Drew Brees, especially up the middle. They'll get in his face. You'll see more balls batted in his face. So I just think the Saints are going to have some real problems in this game. They ran into a buzzsaw last time. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be like that, but I do believe Seattle is just far superior. They really are the best team. Now, the best team hasn't won since 2003. They haven't made it to the Super Bowl in the NFC. But I just don't see New Orleans being able to win this game.
Have the Seahawks been in a Super Bowl?
Yeah, a long time ago, 2003 or 4, they lost to some really awful Super Bowl to the Steelers in Detroit. It's one of the worst Super Bowls ever played. It was like 18-6 or something. It was terrible.
Yeah, I lived in Detroit during that Super Bowl. Yeah, I remember that. The Rolling Stones played at halftime. That was the highlight of the Super Bowl.
No, I didn't remember that either. I just remember Willie Parker had the game of his life and ran all over the Seahawks. And then Mike Holmgren whined about the refs screwing him.
Of course. So the Seahawks record at home this year is incredible too, right?
They're 15-1 their last 16 home games. The only team they lost to was the Cardinals. They're probably very happy to not make the playoffs because that team I think would have been a big problem for a lot of teams if they had made the playoffs.
And I can't imagine the New Orleans fans travel very well to Seattle.
No, that's far. there were a few here last week. They showed up. You can see them in the crowd. But Seattle's a different story. I mean, that's tough to go up there.
Yeah, so I think Seattle's got the upper hand on this one. And what's the spread
8.
as we speak?
8.
8.
It's -8 for Seattle. I think they can cover that. They've been blowing out teams pretty regularly at home. They play well. They're a fast team, and they play fast on that surface. And the crowd.
The only time that spread's not going to work is if you go into the fourth quarter with a close game, because teams are just going to be going to try to whittle down the clock and win at the last second. But if there's any kind of a lead with Seattle going into the fourth quarter, like say 7 or 6, I mean, they're going to be going for the jugular vein. They're not going to be going for prevent situation. They're going to be going for more points.
Yeah.
So that would really. So it's really going to be decided probably going into the fourth quarter, because if it's close, then it's going to be a 2, 3, 5-point game. But if Seattle's got 6 going into the fourth, then you're looking for that, that 7 points to be tacked onto that to put it away.
Yeah, they play very aggressive on defense. I don't expect them to sit back and just wonder what's going to happen here. It's just, that's how they won that game last time. They were very aggressive. The crowd noise was deafening. The way the Saints run their offense, it's very difficult to operate with a lot of noise because they keep running different personnel groups in every play, while most teams don't do it that way. And I think that causes problems, and Breeze has to constantly make line calls, making audibles with the personnel group that he has, because it's different from the last one. And that's why they had all those problems last time, wasting timeouts, false starts, sacks. I think they're going into a hornet's nest, and it's not going to be too pretty.
And I'm not that confident with Ryan as the defensive coordinator. They say, Dallas shouldn't have got rid of him this year. That wouldn't have made a difference there.
Oh, no. I think he's done a great job there. I disagree. They had, historically, the worst defense ever in the history of the NFL last season. And this year he turns it around into the 4th-rated unit in the league. I mean, he changed the scheme, and they've done a great job. Now, they need a couple more pieces, but they've been good. They've been really good now.
But, everything in the NFL seems to be based on 3-4 or 4-3.
Yeah.
This or that. Where's the genius here?
Well,
I'm missing
it's a little more. I think it's a little more nuanced than that. Not every 4-3 defense or every 3-4 defense is equal. It depends on the personnel, and it depends what kind of scheme you want to run, how aggressive you want to be. What kind of personnel you have on the field, how long you have the personnel on the field. I mean, if you look at what Rob Ryan does, he plays a lot of big nickel in his defense, where you have 2 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, 2 of them usually rush, and then you have 2 corners and 3 safeties. You take out one of your defensive linemen, so that you play that way. So the nickel back can either be another linebacker or a defensive back, because teams run 3 wide receiver sets most of the time. It depends. Some teams you want to get them into that nickel defense. I think that's what the Saints did against the Eagles. They got them to the nickel, and then they ran the ball. But each defense is different. I don't think Seattle makes a lot of personnel changes on defense, really. They run their base defense out there a lot because the guys are athletic enough to do different things. I mean, every scheme is different for every team.
But, it's only in the last, from what I see, in the last couple of years, where you see a lot of routine no-huddle offenses. I mean, you never used to see this. And now teams are totally running with no huddles.
Yeah, that's the way it's going. Teams want to score. I mean, there's been more scoring the last 3 or 4 seasons than ever before. I mean, more touchdowns and just high-scoring games. That's what the NFL wants to see. They want to see shootouts. But what's incredible to me is look at the teams that are left. San Francisco, Carolina, Seattle. They're all defensive teams, which is funny to me. The AFC is a little more balanced, but I still think defense is going to win, but the NFL likes these high-scoring games. That's why you see all these records. I mean, look at Peyton Manning threw 55 touchdown passes this season. That's ridiculous. 55.
Don't you think this is all because of the helmet, the helmet receivers? You know, where the quarterbacks can get information from the sidelines. I mean, you know, before you had to have a guy run it in, so you had to have a huddle, but now you don't.
They used to send signals to the guy, or to send someone in saying a number, and the guy look at his chart. But now they can just talk to them, which I mean might make somewhat a difference. But the defense has that too. They can just tell the middle linebacker to play, and he gets in his helmet. So it's kind of equal.
Yeah, so you can just. It seems like something that's based on more talent, but really, if the quarterback's got a receiver in his ear and you just call in the play and then he audibles it out to the team, why did you need a huddle to begin with?
Yeah, true. You don't need that anymore. But some teams like that. Some teams want to run more clock. Some teams rather have a huddle and then do that. Other teams like the Broncos, they sort of hurry up, but they can slow it down. What they do is they don't huddle, but they stand there at the line for a while, and Peyton does all his little things to try to get the defense off, but it still wastes more clock. The team that does it the fastest was the Eagles, I think. They ran a play once every 24 seconds. You know, but because they just would get to the line, look over, get the play, and then run the play. They wouldn't wait for anything. So they were last in the league in time possession. But every no-huddle offense isn't the same. Like the Colts run a little bit up, run something like that. The Patriots do. It really depends on your quarterback. But it can help. That's why the Broncos scored over 600 points this season, which has never happened before.
It allows for Peyton Manning to do more of his commercials.
Yeah, right.
Papa John's, Papa John's.
You know, I think he bought something like 15 franchises, I think, in the Colorado area when he first went there.
Well, yeah, and who's the predecessor out there in Colorado, the QB? He bought up all the damn Ford dealerships. Elway, yeah.
Yeah.
All the Ford dealerships in the Denver area are all like John Elway Ford.
Yeah, we have a bunch of dealerships here that are all Mike Piazza. You know, Mike Piazza Hyundai, Mike Piazza Toyota, and a couple other ones.
Hey, that doesn't beat Detroit, man. We had not only dealerships but commercials from Mel Fa, superstar. He even had like one of the Jackson brothers on one of his commercials where they were flying with capes through the air. Some cheesy special effect. It's like, I'm here with Tito. It was either Tito or one of the other Jackson brothers. And then at the end he says, Mel Farr, superstar.
Oh my God. That's funny. Some of those local television commercials for car dealerships are the funniest.
Tell me about it.
Oh my God. There's two guys here just as babies and did a commercial and wearing diapers and bonnets.
You know, I mean, my hat's off. Those guys, I mean, they're getting more views than Big Pick 4 right now. We got to get up to that level. We can get that many views.
That's what I said. You could put a squirrel and a baby and just film them. And now we get more views than the show. By all of our shows combined, if you add up every view we ever had for any show, add them all together, that'd still get more views by probably 10 times at least.
We could put a live webcam over by that what do you call it? The Philly cheesesteak joint up the road from you?
Oh, Pat's or Gino's?
Yeah, we could put it like a live webcam. It would get more views.
Yeah.
Than Big Pick 4.
Well, there might be a lot of people there tonight since it's raining, but you never know.
Hey, that was until this week when we were finally starting to pick our 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 4 weeks on a consistent basis. That was the whole idea behind this concept from the inception.
Yeah, well, we need more practice, I guess. We haven't really quite grasped that yet.
We need to stop taking mulligans. We need to stop going with our gut picks and our instincts. And when we lose, we can't come back and say, well, I would have picked that game again. If I had a crystal ball and I knew I was going to lose, I still would have picked that game again.
That's right.
Well, let's do that next year.
I stand by the pick, damn it. I don't back off. If it was a bad pick, I'm going to stick by it. I'm not going to take mulligans and gut picks.
And I'm taking a head-to-head challenge right now because I will. Let's go head-to-head on the Super Bowl winner. Right now, throw down.
The San Diego Chargers.
Let me think.
The last 4 teams that played the Eagles in their home opener have all won the Super Bowl. And San Diego played them this year in their home opener.
I don't trust Rivers. People are saying that Manning chokes in the Super Bowl.
Manning's only 9-11 in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I don't think Kaepernick's going to do it. I really don't.
Well, they're doing it differently in San Diego. Rivers only threw the ball 16 times last week against the Bengals. They ran the ball the rest of the plays. They just ran it right down their throats. They let their offensive line win that game. They're taking it off of Philip Rivers' shoulders. He threw a career low in interceptions. I think he only had 11 interceptions this season after throwing 30-something the season before. Their defense is playing great. I think they're 3-0 against Denver in the play and against Peyton in the playoffs. Is Rivers? I'm just saying that's the trend. You never know. I mean, anything can happen. Maybe the Colts win the Super Bowl. I don't know, but the trend the last 4 years, the team that plays the Eagles in the home opener, except for the Eagles, is winning the Super Bowl.
So I'm going to say the Colts. Though I really think the Colts.
I don't know. I don't like their defense. I think it could be San Francisco.
How many the quarterbacks that are still in it that have won the Super Bowl? We have Tom Brady,
Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm. So I would stick with that crowd to begin with, and out of that crowd, I'll take Peyton.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he chokes in the playoffs, and their defense is going to hurt. They're missing what's his name, Miller. Their pass rushing linebacker. He tore his ACL. He's gone. So they're gonna have some problems. But again, you have to play the games, and we have to see. I think the Big B has that game this week.
Yep.
But have to see.
We shall see. So that's Dan and I's gentleman's bet is the Colts versus the Chargers. I'm sorry, the Broncos versus the Chargers. We will now have our second guaranteed pick from the one and only Big B. Let's have it.
All right, the Big B for, I guess, Week 18?
19.
Week 19.
Playoff,
Week 19.
But you weren't here last week, so that's why you're saying Week 18.
All right, whatever. Anyway, so
divisional round.
Yeah, well, whatever. So I'm gonna take.
Go Flyers.
I'm gonna take Indy. It's +7, right?
Yes.
Indy +7 at New England. Dan brought up the fact that they were down 38-10. They came back and won a big game. They have a lot of momentum. Andrew Luck played really well. He looked really good against a decent defense. A much better defense than New England. New England does not have a very good defense at all. They can put up points. I think not having Gronkowski, a red zone threat, they're going to have a tough time scoring touchdowns. I can see New England winning because they're at home. Especially in the playoffs, they have a very good record. But I don't think they're going to cover 7. I think it could be close, 20-17, 21-17. I just don't think New England's going to win by more than 7 points, especially the way that Andrew Luck has been playing lately.
Yeah, New England has a lot of short receivers.
Yeah, Gronk was that red zone target, man. That's a huge loss. I mean, Brady might be able to move the ball up and down the field, but you get inside the 20-yard line, who's he going to throw to? Edelman? I mean, come on.
It's tough when you're a bunch of little guys. They can get hit in easily.
What's the weather looking like up there for Sunday or
It's
Saturday?
supposed to rain very hard, actually, with 20-plus mile-per-hour winds on Saturday night. It's supposed to rain a couple of inches here, but they're going to get some of that system up there. But the temperature should be in the mid-40s, so it shouldn't be very cold. But it's going to be somewhat of a factor. And obviously Brady's used to playing in that, whereas Luck plays indoors most of his games. But
but I wouldn't take a big for on a passing QB if there's going to be any kind of weather situation.
Yeah, but I mean, Donald Brown's run the ball really well for Indy lately, so they should be able to do some stuff on the ground. And New England's a lot of defensive players that are out. What's his name? That linebacker for them just went on IR. They lost Will Fork a long time ago. It's kind of a hodgepodge defense. And I think they showed a stat, too, that Brady's only 7-7 in his last 14 playoff games. So, I think it'll be a close game. As I said, it seems like all these games so far in the playoffs have been close. Tight games.
It makes you wonder why Vegas is making these high spreads.
Yeah, well, I think they want you to go with the underdog. And also I think they have some offensive line problems in New England. Mathis should be able to get some, do some stuff.
Well, Vegas is making these high spreads because they're like, God, what can we do to make this Big Pick 4 show get back on its feet? Let's throw them some.
They're throwing us a bone, baby.
We need a lot
let's
more
give them
help
some
than that.
low-hanging fruit here. They just have to pick the underdog high spread, and that way we'll get these boys back on their feet. They need something. They need something.
We need a lot more help than Vegas.
Keep hope alive.
We need a miracle.
Hey, I want to say I wasn't here last week, but we did make a nice comeback to 500. We were 8 games under 500 with like 4 weeks left, and we made a good comeback. Not saying 500 is something to be proud of.
No, but we did do better.
But the fact that we were 8 under.
Well, that was probably mostly my fault with my awful guarantee.
No, but the whole theory that Dan and I devised last week was that you were going to parlay this momentum into the playoffs, and then we just got crushed on week 1 playoffs, wild card week. So, here we are again trying to recover from a 1-3 start. It's like the season started all over again. So what do we call this week in the playoffs? We call it
divisional week.
Divisional week.
Yeah. And next week will be championship week.
So we need to counter with the 3-1.
Yeah, it's our last chance to get 3 wins.
That's it. So, as always, our crowning feature of the show is our man violation from the violator chief himself, Big Brian B. What's this week's man?
All right, the divisional playoff round man violation is going to be Dan Kaiserman himself. He promised me about 6 months ago. He promised me the nice flat screen TV from his bedroom, and he promised me, and I would remind him, like, Dan, when are you going to give me the TV? Dan's like, I'm going to get a new TV soon. So anyway, at the beginning of this week, I find out that he is going to give the TV that he promised me to a coworker because the coworker can give him a ride to the Best Buy to buy the TV. So he reneged on his promise. So that is the ultimate man violation because a man should be only as good as his word, and so Dan is worth nothing because his word is worthless.
That's right.
Man violator of the week.
Thank you. I really appreciate this award. I'm happy. I'd like to thank the association for the size of these things. All the fake cartoon characters in Brian's head, like Al Bundy and some wrestlers and some other people that were on Man Island with him. Yeah. For this award. I'm waiting for my trophy to come in. It hasn't made it here yet. I hope I get it. And now I'm up for Violator of the Year, and I hope I get that award. I think it comes with a gift certificate to Arby's for $3, since that's all that Brian can afford. It happens like when you buy a house. I got a better offer. I had to take it. So that's the way it goes.
So anyway, and also for all those people out there who might want to become friends with Dan, don't, because you can't trust him. That's my warning. All you future people that might become friends with Dan.
Nobody listen to him.
So what you're saying is the rats and the cockroaches won't have anything now when you're gone?
Yeah, when the EPA rolls in this apartment,
No, but Dan can laugh, but I did have plans in my bedroom for that TV. Because I would have had a lot, because right now I have a huge, one of the old-time TVs with the backs, and it takes up a lot of room on my dresser, and I figured if Dan gives me the flat screen, I'll be able to do more stuff on my dresser, put more stuff on it, and then, at the last minute, Dan tells me he's not giving it to me.
Well, it wasn't really the last minute. I haven't bought anything yet. This could be like months from now.
Ryan, I thought you got a flat screen.
I did, but I want one for my bedroom, though.
Well, if you save some money, you can buy it. Even though he's going to try to save money to buy a laptop so he can do the show from his apartment.
Apparently, Brian's concept, nobody ever can change their mind about anything.
No. Scott.
Okay.
We had no written agreement.
Scott, I would call you out if you promised me something and then at the last minute gave it to somebody else. I'd call you out the same way and say that you are not a man in your word, Scott O'Haron. Because if I ever told you I'm going to do something, I'm going to fucking do it. I said, Scott, I'm going to get you something. I'm going to get it for you. Otherwise, yes, I.
Unless you have to get up and walk and go there and
No,
carry
if I said, Scott, I'm going to give you
Let's
this.
change
Like, if I said, Scott,
how about the time he said he was going to help us move him, and he just slept like a beached whale the whole day?
That's got nothing to do with.
This is starting like Housewives of South Philly, where they bicker over petty. We can change our mind at will, with no repercussion whatsoever.
And you're not an O'Haron, Scott. We're men of our word.
Oh, yeah.
You're not an O'Haron, man.
Call him out. Is he the co-violator of the week?
Well, you did it. He hasn't actually done it. You actually physically did it.
You know what he did? He promised you money for the show, and he hasn't given it to you yet.
No, he didn't promise me money. No, he was legit. He said
look,
we get
I know,
75%.
Oh, my God.
No, you're wrong.
The
You
O'Haron
can laugh all you
is
want, but
very
you know you're wrong. What you did is wrong.
You know, there is the code is there is honor among thieves. You know, that's the code. So you know.
No, a real man sticks by his word, and Dan obviously isn't one. That's all right, though.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, Mr. Man over here.
Hey, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, if I say I'm going to call somebody, I call them back. If I say I'm going to pay you back, I pay them back. I'm a man of my word. Have I not always paid you back the next time I had a paycheck?
Eventually,
Yes.
yeah.
When I had a
He
paycheck.
just cricketed you. No, the camera's up there.
Whatever, who cares? Whatever.
Can't
I don't
see
care.
you.
The man of my word. He's riding his white horse.
That's right. And you're on the ground.
And the horse just had a heart attack.
Don't you think that, like, even a stripper, there's an expectation of a tip? Don't you think that's like an unspoken,
What?
you know,
Are you going to bring
code?
up the time we went to the strip
That's
club
an
in Jersey?
expectation there? When she comes up to you and
Whatever, dude.
you're just.
There is. I wasn't.
She-
Scott,
Oh,
that
I'm
doesn't
going
count
to the
because I
bathroom.
left. No, Scott, I went against the wall.
Isn't that a
No,
man
yeah.
violation?
And
No,
one time,
no.
one time he got a meal for free at Applebee's, and he didn't tip the waitress because he said 0 times 0 is 0. This poor woman just worked for an hour, giving him pounds of food for free, and then he screws her over and doesn't tip her. He goes, 0
valid
times
point,
0
though.
is 0. I said, giving her
Zero.
$4.
That's a valid point, though.
Amazing. Math genius.
And this woman probably had 5 kids at home, and is working 3 jobs, and Brian screws her.
Well, I would like to point out the strip club thing is not valid because I went against the wall. You stayed. The women came around to you. I purposely left my seat so I wouldn't have to reject them. So I definitely did not violate anything because I never got.
He's a man of his word out of his mouth, but not his eyeballs, because he could watch the dance, but his eyes are speaking to you. Hey, I'm loving this dance, but yet he doesn't pony up with a tip. But if it comes out of his mouth, apparently there's a different standard.
That's right.
Hmm. I get you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, you got to place your bets now that Big Pick 4 has won 1 out of 3 for the wild card week. Obviously, this is a 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4 showing here for the division champion. We call this division championship week or
Divisional
what do we call it
playoff week. Divisional round.
again? Divisional playoffs. So go out, place your bets, and as always.
Big Pick 4.